It's this theme song. No, this is fantastic. I mean, World Golf Fitness Summit 2014, you're kidding me? It feels like only 2 years ago I was standing on this very stage at the World Golf Fitness Summit 2012. And I just got that, and that's probably why I feel so appropriate. But I was standing on the stage, and I was talking about rotary slings and power, rotational power. And it was really fun because what we did was we separated the room in half. We had half the room over here. You guys were like the load guys. If you weren't there, follow along with me. And this side of the room, these were the explode guys. So what I'd do is I'd point over here and they'd go, load! Right? Like, let's try it. Ready? Load! People in Orlando are a lot louder than people in California. Are you ready? Load! Good. And explode! Load! Explode! Load! Explode! Whew! It sounded something similar to that. The problem is that after I finished my presentation, I went back up to my hotel room, and I was sitting in my hotel room and I felt really sad because I realized that this whole load and explode thing, it had absolutely nothing to do with my presentation. And I was purely using it for my own enjoyment, and I felt very selfish. So I said to myself, this year I'm not going to do that to these people. I have way too much respect for them. I'm not going to take them through one of these little roller coaster rides. And I do. I respect you guys, so I'm not going to do that to you this time. Okay, so what are we talking about? I want to share with you something that I've spent the last 4 years really, really working on, and I truly believe this. If I had a proverbial, genie bottle, the one you rub your genie bottle and the genie comes out and grants you 3 wishes. Well, I thought to myself, what would I give my athlete if I was able to grant 3 wishes to them? And the first 2 are actually really simple. They're really simple. It would be scapular stability and control of their pelvis. Pelvic stability, but control of their pelvis. Those are my 2 wishes. And I know some of you are like, are you freaking kidding me? You got 3 wishes and you're wasting 2 of them on scapular stability and pelvic control? What about like power of the legs and the glutes and having a great core? I'm like, no. All that means nothing. All those deadlifts you're doing, the squats, the bench press, all that stuff is crap. It means nothing unless you have good scapular stability and great pelvic control. It means nothing. Because here's the deal. I don't care how strong your legs are and how much thrust you can create, how much power you can create with your legs. If it doesn't get transferred and turned into rotational power through your pelvis and directed in the right direction, it means nothing. And you could have the biggest pipes in the world. You could do bicep curls for the girls till the cows come home. It means nothing if it's attached to your body, and where it attached to your body is unstable. It means nothing. So you guys spend all this time with your golfers, working on the pipes, getting bigger legs, putting an ass on them. That's all great. But if where they connect to the body aren't stable and can't control that power, it means 0. Now, I travel a lot. I'm very fortunate. I get to travel around with TPI team worldwide. We've been doing lectures for the last 4 years all around the world. And it's been great because, Air Canada has been very, very good to me. And for the last 4 years, they put me into their Mile High Club. And, sorry. That's a Freudian slip, I think. I apologize. It's not the Mile High Club, it's the 100,000 Mile Club. That's what it is. Very different. Very different. Very different. The other one sounds a little bit more fun, though. And what that does is it gives you a lot of benefits. Like, they send you like these nice little luggage tags. You get access to the lounge, which is great. All these nice things. Every year they send you, a business card for a divorce lawyer. They do all these really nice things because they know you're traveling a lot, right? I have a very successful marriage, trust me. Mile High Club, baby. But the thing is, you also get perks where you get to sit up front. And I was sitting in first class one day, I got upgraded, and right beside me, I got to sit beside a Boeing engineer. This guy spends his whole life designing airplanes. And so we're talking about what I do, and he's talking about what he does. We're just sharing concepts about our businesses. And I said to him, I'm like, where on the plane do you guys put your most focus? Like, you're a genius. Where do you put all the focus of the engineering in the plane? And he said, well, before I answer that, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to put it right back on you. Where do you think we put the emphasis of the engineering in the plane? And I thought, well, the cockpit has to have a lot of engineering because, that's where everything is controlled. There's computers and all those things have to work. If the cockpit's not working properly, we got a problem. He's like, that's pretty good. You're very smart. You must be a partial genius. I said, yes, I am. Then he said, what would you say is the next part? And I said, well, the thrusters, like, if you have a 767, this guy worked on 767s. You have a 767, you got to get that huge beast. And I look at these things, you sit in them and you watch them, and you go, how does this thing get in the air? You got to have enormous amounts of thrust. So I said, the actual engine itself has to be massive, and you have to put a lot of engineering into that thing to make sure it doesn't fail. He goes, again, you are very smart. You seem like a genius, but in actuality, you're an idiot. And in fact, I'd like you to appreciate it if you just stop talking. Because just being in your presence is making me stupider. So he said, but before I put my earphones on and ignore you, I'm going to share with you where the engineering goes. And it was really cool to hear this because it's exactly what we're talking about here. He said the most engineering goes into where you put that engine and how you attach it onto the wing. Because he says if you have all the thrust in the world, it means nothing if it can't stay on the wing. And if all that thrust doesn't push the plane in the direction you're trying to go. And I was like, that's pretty cool, man. Because the thrusters in golf, it's about the ground. It's about pushing in the ground and using these dynamic muscles, the groin, the adductors, the thrusters, the glutes, the quads, all these things. But they have to be directed in the right direction, and they have to be connected. And he says they connect that jet engine to the wing with only 6 bolts. That's pretty cool. 6 bolts. I still don't know why they don't add more, but only 6 bolts. So he said the second part where they put the engineering, the second part of the plane they put engineering is connecting the wing to the body of the plane. Because he says having these wings that are really, really dynamic don't mean anything if it's not attached to the plane. We want the actual body of the plane to fly. So he says that engineering to make it attach properly and be dynamic, the wings actually move and they have to be dynamic while they're flying. I thought that's very similar to the way our arms work in our golf swing. In our scapula, I used to think, because I listened to the World Golf Fitness Summit, I saw this speaker, he was talking about these rotary slings. I don't know, he's some really chiseled, really handsome, good looking Canadian kid. And he was talking about these rotary slings, and he talked about anchoring the slings to a stable segment, like a scapula. And I used to think of that. I used to train my athletes. Scapula stabilization meant locking it down. But now as I'm starting to evolve, I'm starting to feel that there's actually a dynamic component to it. The scapula are actually moving throughout the golf swing. They're moving throughout the golf swing, but there's segments where they're moving and they're prime movers that are creating movement, and then they'll lock down and stabilize and transfer energy to the next segment. I thought that's pretty cool. So I have to start training my athletes that way. Instead of just everything's locked down, core stability, don't move, lock down the scaps and then move your arms, it's more about dynamic, like kettlebells, like working in a kettlebell snatch where your shoulder's actually dynamically moving. Musicians always say, they say that really good music has nothing to do with the notes. It's the time in between the notes, between when the notes are being played, that's where the true magic of music happens. And it's the same thing in our training. It's not about locking things down and drive this and push that. It's those moments where there's that transition, that beautiful transition of stability and mobility working as one. So we always say in the stability mobility model, each segment has its own characteristic, but in reality, they all work together in unison. So now you're probably thinking, what's the third wish if I had a wish? And this wish, the third wish, has absolutely nothing to do with the actual athlete, and it has everything to do with you people in this room. The third wish would be this. I think it's important that if you have a thought like this is so outside the box for the athlete. They want to do squats. They want to work with their glutes. They want to see all these great exercises that they saw on TV. They want to work on all these different exercises, the sexy ones. But now you know that the sexy exercises are great, but they mean nothing if the body can't control them and use them properly. So now what you need the ability to coach. You need the ability to coach people who come in the gym and think that a good trainer is somebody who kicks their ass every time. You have that. I go out for dinner with people, go with my wife and we do the thing, you know, in your community with all the others, the high school, you know, the parents. You do that whole parent thing, and you get together, and people always say to me, "What do you do for a living?" You know, they just meet. What do you do for a living? And I don't tell them I'm a strength coach or a fitness coach, because they always ask me, like, "Oh, well, I'm doing Pilates 3 days a week. I'm doing yoga 2 days a week, and do like 20 push-ups in the morning and do 50 sit-ups. Is that good? Like, what do you think?" And you start going in that conversation. I don't want that conversation, right? Because when you tell them what's real, they don't believe you. And when I'm amongst all these strength coaches, they go, "What's your favorite golf exercise?" And I tell them what my favorite golf exercise is, and they say, no, give me like a good one, like a really cool one. Right? So here is my third wish. My third wish is that you have the ability to take your coaching to the next level. Take your coaching to the next level and be able to inspire others to greatness and change that mentality. Less is more. It's okay to take somebody in the gym and they don't sweat that day. It's all about making better performance. So instead, I always take the path of least resistance, minimal dose. I'm going to put the least amount of stress on my athlete and get maximum results. There is a time to kick somebody's ass. There's a time to kick somebody's ass and have them puke in a bucket, but that doesn't make you a good trainer. What makes you a good trainer is that you made a performance change that lasted. So that is my third wish to you, that you have, as a coach, the ability to communicate with your athlete and share those thoughts and actually get them to buy in your system. If they buy in on your system, they believe in themselves. That confidence carries into their performance. And when they do that, they're going to have success. When you do that, you're going to have success. So I want to thank you guys for having me up here. Greg, Dave, giving me another unbelievable opportunity to come here and speak to these wonderful coaches. One more thing for you folks. I need you to do 3 things for me. I need you to dream big. I need you to over-deliver, be undeniable, and cheers, everybody.